What is the craziest thing you've seen done at a party? I went down to a house party in a shitty neighborhood in Chicago many years ago. This was a particularly scummy group of people. There was this junkie chick that was really hard up for some heroin trying to score. But she owed so many people at the party that nobody was willing to hook her up. There was a stray pit bull running around in the alley behind the house that kept trying to follow people into the yard. After a while of listening to her beg, one of the guys offered her a hit if she ducked the dog. She agreed and a few guys wrangled the dog and brought it inside the house. She stripped down in front of everybody and kept trying to get the dog to duck her, but it didn't really understand and so it just wanted to play. After a few minutes of her jerking him off, he finally got the idea and she got the dog to duck her. The dog got really into it and was going nuts and clawing the crap out of her. After a couple minutes, the dog finished and ran off. So this girl was all scratched up and bleeding with dog cum dripping out of her. She didn't even put her pants back on. She just leaned back against the wall and got her kit out of her bag and prepped and shot up on the spot. TLDR, junkie chick ducked a dog to get her fix. I have posted this before and I have not yet seen a more ducked up thing at a party. Group of kids decided to try and make cotton candy by pouring sugar into a spin dryer. It caught fire. Friend has a plastic cup full of petrol. Petrol cup gets set on fire. Friend kicks burning petrol cup. Friend is now on fire. Through a house party in college. I was trying to keep it relatively tame, but one of my roommates sent out a mass text and the whole house ended up being standing room only. Fast forward and some drunk asshole jumps in his car and floors it straight into the car parked in front of him. He then tries to make a quick escape by driving into the concrete drainage ditch next to my house. His car is now stuck nose down in the ditch. Rear wheels in the air. The drunk guy then stumbles out and tries to tell everyone that it actually isn't his car and that my car is really his. We let him spend the next 10 minutes trying to unlock it while the police came. Dude drank like a liter of vodka. Washed it down with some orange juice. At some point in the next hour, he crapped his pants on a white leather couch. We trailed him to a bathroom where he used the floor mats as toilet paper. Just crap everywhere. He somehow climbed out of a privacy window and ran into the night. I once saw someone do the marijuana. Walked into a room one time and there was a guy taking a dump on a glass coffee table. And another guy underneath the table taking pictures through the glass. Girl shit in my sink. Her friend was using the toilet. And I guess she sat up there to pee. But more than pee came out. So I had the pleasure of asking which one of the few girls at my party fired one off in the sink. Surprisingly, she raised her hand. Then burst into tears and ran out of my apartment. Great. Now I have to clean that shit up. I went to my friend's neighbor's 18th birthday party. I was a couple of years older. This was the guy's first night seriously on the piss. Legal drinking age is 18 in Australia. And he decided to do shots of ouzo as well as some spirits mixed with coke in between. We partied for a while, then headed back to my mate's house to have a few quiet ones there. After a while at my mate's house, we went back to the birthday party to see how it was going. The birthday boy was blackout drunk now. He was naked. In bed. But not asleep. Just kind of slurring and vomiting, ducking everywhere. His parents were asleep upstairs, so we decided to help this dude out since he was completely ducked. I started cleaning his spew with the dustpan but flicked some of the spew into my eye with the brush. That sheet burns. Meanwhile, my friends have managed to get spew boy into a cool shower to wake him up a bit. Dude ends up getting out of the shower and does the thing those weird monster people in the Sism film clip do. That was the point we noped the duck out and woke his parents up. There was this huge bowl of chips with some French onion dip. I got a huge chip and didn't get quite enough dip on it. Took the first bite. Looked around and double dipped like a ducking boss. Party at my house. My friend Tim is there. All night he keeps asking people if they've seen his sister. His twin sister. He's looking for her and she's here somewhere at this party. I know he doesn't have a sister, but I figure he's just being weird. From about 9 till 2 he's asking everybody. making it a point to specifically ask each and every individual if they've seen his sister. His twin sister. It's just after 2 AM when, unbeknownst to any of us, he tucks his wiener between his legs, he turns off the music, drops his pants to his ankles and shuffles through the whole party screaming twin sister. Twin sister. This, not too classy, girl I used to work with sucked her boyfriend's big dick in front of me outside of a bar. Later when she was throwing up, her boyfriend told me he had a fantasy of hooking up with a guy and wanted to fool around with me. I don't hang out with them anymore. Edit, grammar. I woke up hungover the next day at my friend's house after a huge house party. Everyone was still passed out asleep. I went in his kitchen to get some water and there was about 7 homeless people with sleeping bags filling the floor. No idea how they got in. We had to call the police because they refused to get up. Saw a brand new 55-inch TV thrown off a 3rd story deck. Some chick got too drunk and finger banged herself on the couch in front of everybody. The music got turned down. Everybody started cheering and then 2 huge dudes appeared from the crowd of people, grabbing the girl by her arms and effectively dragging her out onto the lawn. She proceeded to puke on herself and pass out. Never went to a party again. When I was 14 I went to a friend's 15th birthday party. We were like 10 people, using the 2nd floor of their house for his party. Someone brought moonshine that his father had made, which was pretty normal. So I went downstairs to ask his parents for some shot glasses. His father gave me some porcelain shot glasses. And back up I went. I didn't expect that at all. Then his mom comes running upstairs, yelling like there's no tomorrow. She grabs the porcelain things, thrusts a bag of plastic shot glasses onto our table, and walks back downstairs muttering about her husband giving us the fine shot glasses. Yeah, I grew up in a yokel town, but that seemed pretty ducked up at the time. That was my first party, and we did shots of 96% homemade ducking moonshine. It hurt. I saw someone squanch their squanch. My roommate ducking our female roommate next to me while I was passed out drunk. Turns out next morning she was a virgin before and she didn't remember anything. I was the one to come down to the breakfast table and ask why my buddy's sheets were full of blood. He sat there slack-jawed and she thought the blood was from someone else. I throw a large house party in the country. About 50-60 people show up, all ready to drink. We were 23-26. Close friend passes out on the couch after a solid 8 hours of drinking, 11 PM. Proceeds to wake up. Walked aside of couch. Drops pants and takes a huge sheet in front of 50 people. Everyone was yelling at him, but he just couldn't snap out of it. After huge sheet is dropped, a friend of mine who snuck out during the commotion runs in wearing his hazmat suit he recently picked up for local FD training. Cleaned it all up. Probably the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. Edit, autocorrect typo. The host of the party was really drunk and he looks at me and my girlfriend and he says watch this. He walks into the closet and grabs his ironing board and continues to surf down the stairs flawlessly with the ironing board. It was honestly amazing. Some dude got drunk and fell asleep on the couch in the living room, where most of the people were at. Fast forward to after midnight. He proceeds to get up, go next to the couch to the corner of the room and just starts pissing there. From that day he has been called the corner pisser. Makes more sense in my language because it's one word and sounds more melodic. I fell asleep on a sofa after a bottle of rum. 2 girls decided to get frisky with each other while I was unconscious. I count this as a 3-way. I saw a woman, pregnant, naked, rolling her face off, eating barbecue chicken and dripping sauce all over herself at a rave in Detroit. My ex-girlfriend was a DJ and we saw a decent amount of sheet during those travels, but that burned a hole. I won a couple games of cribbage. I don't go to parties much. I was in a frat in college and we threw rages regularly. One weekend Bob was playing in the college town. and one of the brothers was a party promoter and somehow invited Bob to our place for an invite only after party with all the drugas and alcohol he could consume. Plenty of planning went into it and we were ready. Only the brothers, a few of our solid boys, and the rest mini dress club chicks. Party time arrives and lo and behold Bob's entourage shows up. But not the big man himself. They tell us that he needed to lay low and not get any charges if the party goes south. The subsequent hours can only be described as ruckus. These dudes threw down. It's a miracle the cops didn't come. They borrowed an air rifle and we're going ham on squirrels in the back. They managed to put some of our furniture on the roof to chill. We were chip-shotting empties into the dumpster with clubs up there. After 2 kegs were gone they got us doing keg throw competitions and one of our boys slipped in a puddle it faced and knocked himself clean out with the keg. Like clockwork they got picked up at 3:30 AM and were gone. We forever called that night the Buyer Bob party. And edit, keg not leg. On the day that Michael Jackson died I was celebrating the end of exams with my ex-girlfriend and her friends at their house. Everyone got totally wasted. MJ died. There were tears everywhere. One guy punched a window out. While all this was going on, I was upstairs taking a piss. I came out the loo and noticed that there was a door open. My mate came up to use the loo, saw me looking at the door and said we should take a look inside. We did. We looked everywhere. We eventually looked in the bedside table and found a butt plug and a big purple dildo. Cue us heading downstairs with these 2 devices and swinging them all around the party. Throwing them at people. That kind of nonsense. At a house party some girl jumped out of the 2nd story window onto a kid to escape from the police. I've posted this before. A few years after high school I was in the military and I was back home on a couple weeks of leave. Vacation for non-military folks. A friend of mine invited me to tag along with him to a party he'd been invited to. It was at the home of a dude that we knew from high school. He was one of those super jock, popular, couldn't be bothered by any other lower life form like me types, so I had my doubts about how this night was going to go. Now since I had finished high school I have run into a few other peeps like this guy and they were all super cool. Amazing how college, military, and real life makes one realize how all that bullshit in high school doesn't mean shit. Anyway, we get to the party and it's only a few peoples. No more than 10. Everyone is super chill except this guy. He's ragging on me about what I wore in school, the girls I dated, the poor part of town I lived in, like we had never left high school. I didn't want to start anything, we'd all been drinking and I was recently promoted in a hard to get a promotion field, so I wasn't about to risk that. My buddy suggests we leave and I agree but mention I need to hit up the men's room before we leave. I go in and realize that I not only need to piss but I need to sheet as well. I'm laughing at the dumb as duck non-usable soaps and sheet when I realize I should leave an apertica. For those not in the loop, an apertica is when you take the lid off the toilet tank and proceed to sheet in it. Which is what I did. Big one too, we were poor at home so lots of rice, beans and chicken for us. It was hard to balance and I was afraid I'd break the tank off with minimal weight, but I managed. I wiped, put that in the tank, washed my hands with the do not use soap and left. One of the top 10 proudest moments of my life. Placed my testicles on a cactus. I've told this story before, but we were hanging out at a friend of a friend's party. Calmed down pretty quickly, but there was still some good traffic. 2 guys and this blonde girl walk in, none of which we know, and beeline for one of the bedrooms. We can all hear them ducking over the music. About 10 minutes later, one of the dudes walks out completely naked and fully erect and says she wants a third. Our one friend just starts stripping and walks into the room. The rest of us left to go to sheets. I started an indoor fire extinguisher fight. It was a powder type extinguisher. The mess was significant. In college, a girl on her knees taking turns giving about 10-12 guys a blowjob. In high school my friend passed out at a house party. While he was asleep he got a boner. We put a shoe over it upside down to cover it while he slept, and the party just kept on keeping on. Not too crazy, but super weird. Teenagers suck. Halloween weekend 2015. Huge yard party at an apartment complex. Walked up and first thing I see is someone getting knocked out and dragged to the side by the building. Everyone kept partying. Music festivals count as parties, right? So I'm at whatever festival I'm at a few years back. Music is done for the day and my crew is under our canopy drinking beers and chatting it up when we hear some yelling. I pull back the tie-dye tapestry we use for privacy, shielding dust, to see this spun out dude arguing with security. "What's your name, son?" "I don't know." "Where are your friends?" "I don't know." "Where's your tent?" "I don't know." Then a bystander yells, "What's your sock?" And the dude rattles off his social security number with ease. The security guard asks, "What did you take tonight?" And he says, "Man, I'm on acid." We're all on acid. This is XXXXX Music Festival. This is life. This is Bass Nectar. Big gigantic. This is Ford. Lexus. I smoked so much weed, a man, and he just keeps on rattling off lists of bullshit until the security guard was all, "Okay buddy, that's enough, you're coming with us." Worth noting that generally security takes you to a medical tent where you're treated for free. So he was likely not in any legal trouble. But the whole crowd watching this was practically dying. I had never laughed so hard in my life. A couple of years ago, I was out walking the golf course with my friends. It was a neighborhood golf course, so it was connected to the backyards of almost all the houses in this little community. Well, we found a party going on that was just packed full of the upper crust. We were probably about 21 and this was a party full of young, rich 27-30-year-olds. Upon entering the party, I noticed a guy asleep on the couch. And I was so drunk, I thought I should help wake him up so he could enjoy the party. So I sat on him and started slapping the shit out of this guy. Front of the hand, back of the hand. And I'm sure that guy caught some karate chops in my drunken stupor. He wakes up and starts yelling. I book it back out onto the golf course. And I didn't see my friends until the next morning. They all got their asses kicked at that party. Because of me. We built a small fire in an incinerator at the bottom of the garden. You know those small metal trash can looking bins with the funnel at the top and holes in the side. After getting a mediocre fire going, someone produced a mystery bottle of liquid from the shed to spice things up a bit. Within minutes of this being sprayed, flames were licking out of every orifice of the metal bin. Somehow the flames managed to lick a dry fir tree a couple of feet away. Within 5 minutes this 8-foot tall fir tree was ablaze. Everyone was frantically running from the kitchen with dirty pots and pans and filling them from the garden pond to try and tackle the blaze like a drunk adolescent fire brigade. The fire spread, burning down to sheds and a large section of fence. The kicker was that all the oil and sheet from the dirty pans had managed to hill the dad's prize koi carp collection. I didn't actually see this part, but I heard the screaming and saw naked running at a college party, and this sheet-faced guy and this extremely drunk woman start going at it. They went off into someone's bedroom. Apparently, she was on her period and so they decided to have anal sex. He fumbled around in a drawer and pulled out some lube and they started going at it. Not long after, she starts screaming and runs out of the room naked and starts banging on the bathroom door. Everyone starts laughing their asses off thinking she has to cheat or something. The person doesn't open the door, so she runs to the kitchen and hops in the sink and basically shoves the sprayer up her ass. It wasn't lube they had applied. It was icy hot. A heat rub. The room was a football player's room and he kept that stuff in his drawer. The morning after a party in high school, I sat down at the breakfast table of my friend's house to the disapproving stares of everyone. Apparently the night before I vomited in a plugged up sink and then said I claimed this moon for the United States of Earth and planted my flag by throwing my socks in it. I was at a party, standing at the basement door while a small group of people passed a joint. The entrance to the door was slightly below ground level. So we were standing in a depressed concrete area in front of the door with the ground above at about waist height. In front of us, at our level, was an old lawnmower. The kind you would pull the cord and curse at while it refuses to start. Puff. Puff. Pass in the quiet of the night when suddenly a loud thud and a body from above lands horizontally. Back first. Across the lawnmower. Having fallen from the balcony above. His arms quickly grab his chest as one might be expected to do during a traumatic aortic dissection. There is a sigh-like gurgling noise from him and then nothing. He is not moving and we are 100% certain he is deceased. I feel like the life force is leaving him as his arms, now awkwardly across his chest, start to slowly unfold, past parallel toward the ground. His right arm has now entered our space. Hand open and limp at the wrist. Fingers hanging down and looking very corpse-like. Slowly, eerily, his index finger and thumb begin to move together until the tips are touching. His body language is unmistakable. So we pass him the joint and he takes a long haul. Somehow, he was completely unharmed. So I'm from Canada and we were partying at a friend's garage in the winter. So somewhere in our drunken minds we decided to heap a bunch of snow and jump off the garage into it. So first guy up gets on the roof and yells swan dive, then completely misses the pile and breaks his collarbone. Yet fun times.